Within the austere depths of the Galactic Council's observation chamber, alien leaders watch Earth's ancient repeated distress signal and dismiss it as primitive noise. Yet when humanity's hidden protocol activates, their fear and confusion ignite. On Earth, tension thickens as the countdown to humanity's ultimate response ticks down silently. A chilling promise echoes through the void. This is no plea for mercy. The council chamber hummed softly, a cathedral of glass and shifting light suspended in orbit around a dead star. 8 alien delegates sat in a crescent, eyes fixed on the holographic sphere rotating between them. Earth, a small blue marble in the blackness. It's just static, hissed Vokril, the Zoldran ambassador, his mandibles twitching with disdain. Primitive signals, indistinguishable from background noise. The others nodded, a muted consensus born from millennia of galactic diplomacy. Earth had never answered their summons, not once. The Council's decision was unanimous. Ignore on. The screen, a faint pattern blinked. Repeated pulses, an ancient distress beacon sent for centuries. It was human ingenuity, interpreted as desperation or perhaps madness. Why waste resources on a planet so unworthy? Said Cathas, voice slick as oil. They are barely past their planetary infancy. A soft tremor shook the chamber. The ambassador from the Yaru, an insectoid species, trembled visibly. Yet their technology is unusual. Their ships skirt detection, and their weapons defy known physics. Vokrel scoffed, but the unease spread. The Council had never faced a world like Earth before, unknown and unpredictable. Suddenly, the sphere shimmered violently. A new transmission breached the Council's sensor net. It was not a plea, but a challenge. On Earth, Commander Ana Reyes sat in the dim light of the underground command bunker. Her eyes locked on the countdown timer, 0010. The air was thick with tension, the faint buzz of nanotech maintenance drones their only soundtrack. 10 seconds, she whispered, voice steady but laced with steel. Her fingers hovered over a crimson button, labeled only Protocol Deathworld. Behind her, Dr. Malik adjusted the quantum frequency calibrator, sweat glistening on his brow. This will make them remember why Earth deserves to be feared. The human signal was more than a message. It was a beacon, a declaration of survival. And Wrath, an ancient warship hidden for decades beneath the planet's crust, slowly powered up in orbit, its engines humming with dark energy. Back in the council chamber, the delegates watched, mouths agape, as the human warship emerged from stealth. It was monstrous, Deathworld-Class, engines glowing with a strange violet light, weapon systems aligning with eerie precision. Cathas's voice cracked. This cannot be. They have weapons capable of planetary devastation. Vokril's confidence shattered. We have ignored their call for too long. The chamber fell into chaos. Reyes stared out at the stars through the viewport. Her voice was low but filled with ice-cold certainty. They thought Earth was weak. They thought ignoring us would be safe. Now they will learn that silence is the deadliest weapon. As the warship's main cannon powered up, a final transmission crackled through the void. This is humanity's reckoning. We answer no council. The holographic Earth flared, casting shadows over the trembling council, and in that moment, power shifted irrevocably. Humanity's sudden emergence from obscurity shocks the galaxy. The Council scrambles to comprehend Earth's hidden power, while fear and blame tear through alien ranks. On board the Deathworld-Class battleship, Commander Reyes reflects on the long years of silent preparation. The slow, simmering rage of humanity begins to rise, a vengeance forged from betrayal and survival. The Council chamber remained fractured, echoes of the human warship's emergence rippling through the galaxy's most powerful deliberative body. A silence heavy with dread settled between the delegates, each lost in their spiraling thoughts. Vokril paced, mandibles clicking in agitation. How did Earth hide such technology for centuries? Our probes never detected these Deathworld-Class ships. Their stealth nanotech must surpass anything we imagined. Krylos snapped, voice sharp with panic. It's a betrayal of the highest order. They feigned weakness, invited our dismissal, and all the while built the instruments of our destruction. From the corner, the Iru delegate, still trembling, whispered, "Perhaps Earth's signal was not a call for help, but a trap." The chamber's holographic map flickered, displaying real-time readings of Earth's warship, colossal, brutal, and primed to strike. Its thrusters glowed violet with exotic antimatter propulsion. The ship's hull shimmered with adaptive cloaking nanites, rendering conventional scans useless. Dr. Malku, a historian delegate from the Threel species, voiced what others only dared think. We underestimated them, and now we face a force born from desperation and rage, tempered by millennia of silent preparation. Deep beneath Earth's crust, in the subterranean command bunker, Commander Ana Reyes remained unmoved. She stared into the ship's panoramic viewport as the violet engines flared, a cold fire lighting the darkness of space. Behind her, scientists and soldiers moved silently, aware that the entire fate of humanity hinged on their next moves. "Why wait so long, Commander?" asked Lieutenant Sarin, his voice tight. "Why did we not warn the galaxy sooner?" Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Because any premature move would have meant annihilation. They would have crushed us when we were still weak. We chose silence, patience, and preparation." Dr. Malik stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. "Humanity was labeled primitive. A death world in galactic terms is a planet hostile enough to produce weapons and tactics unlike any other. Earth's constant environmental catastrophes forced us to adapt or perish. Our technology evolved under fire, literally." Reyes turned to her lieutenant. "Our warship's main weapon uses gravity wave pulse cannons, capable of cracking planetary crusts from orbit. And our cloaking? Nanotech so advanced it warps light and sensor fields simultaneously. They never saw us coming." Sarin swallowed hard. "The Council's arrogance. It's our greatest weapon now." Back at the Galactic Council, the mood darkened into bitter recrimination. "How many planets have fallen to their wrath?" demanded Krylos, voice rising. "Are there others like Earth hiding in shadows?" Vokrel's mandibles twitched in frustration. "Our intelligence is blind. They have weaponized every scientific anomaly into a tool of war." The Iru delegate spoke again, voice shaky but resolute. "We must consider that Earth's message was never a plea for mercy. It was a warning, a psychological gambit to test our resolve. Their silence was a strategy, not weakness. Council President Zalthar, a towering entity of shimmering light and thought, intervened. This council failed to read the signs. We must now act swiftly and decisively." "But how?" muttered Dr. Malku. "Their Deathworld-Class battleships can obliterate moons. Our fleets are obsolete. Thousands of light-years away. Humanity's fleet remained hidden, but the warship, their spearhead, was already moving. Commander Reyes convened a war council inside the flagship's command deck. The room was bathed in the violet glow of the ship's core. "Operation Reclamation begins at 0600 hours, Reyes announced, voice steady and unyielding. "We will not negotiate. Our goal is survival and dominance." Lieutenant Sarin nodded. "What about the colonies? We risk igniting full-scale war." Reyes's gaze sharpened. "We are already at war. The Council's dismissal was the first shot fired." Dr. Malik interjected. "Our scientific teams have developed EMP arrays capable of disabling enemy sensors and shields temporarily. But it will cost us precious energy reserves." Reyes weighed the words, then nodded decisively. "Energy reserves can be replenished. Our message must be heard loud and clear. No more silence." Meanwhile, within the Council's observation chamber, Vokrel's facade of control fractured. "They are not just survivors. They are predators," he growled. "How many worlds have they claimed? How many species crushed beneath their iron will? Cathas grimaced. We ignored the warnings. Now we face a reckoning, centuries in the making. Suddenly, alarms blared across the chamber as the warship's violet pulse rippled through the sector, a show of power, a statement of intent. Council President Zalthar's light flickered erratically. We must rally the fleets. We must strike before Earth's wrath spreads. But the fear was palpable. This was no ordinary warship. It was a symbol of a species that refused extinction, a Deathworld's fury forged in silence. On Earth's command deck, Reyes watched the violet pulse fade into the stars. She whispered, "They thought ignoring us would save them. They didn't. Realize, silence breeds storms." The human fleet stirred, cloaked and ready. The countdown to humanity's revenge had begun, and somewhere in the galaxy, an ancient council wondered, had they just awoken a sleeping giant whose vengeance would shake the stars? As the Galactic Council scrambles to rally their forces, the true scale of Earth's silent war machine begins to emerge. On board the flagship, Commander Reyes recalls the bitter history of humanity's exile and betrayal, the root of their simmering rage. Meanwhile, alien factions debate fragile alliances amid mounting fear. The shadows of ancient conflicts resurface. As war's first brutal moves ignite, the council chamber lay cloaked in a dim, tense silence that no words could penetrate. Outside its vast windows, the swirling cosmos remained indifferent to the imminent storm. Council President Zalthar's form pulsed with unstable light as he projected the latest reconnaissance feed onto the holoscreen. The image was stark. Human orbital platforms emerging from cloaked positions, deploying nanite swarms that flickered. Like ghostly specters, these are not mere survivors, Zalthar intoned gravely. They are architects of war itself. Vokrel, the Zoldran ambassador, clenched his claws. They do not fight with honor. They fight like shadows, silent, unseen, and deadly. Cathas nodded bitterly. Their Deathworld status is not a curse. It's a crucible. Their environment forged weapons and strategies we cannot begin to comprehend. From the far side, the Iru delegates' antennae twitched nervously. Their silence was a calculated betrayal. We must find allies or be consumed. A murmur ran through the council, a flicker of panic, fear and desperation. The old alliances strained under the weight of Earth's sudden revelation. Far below Earth's scarred surface, in a cavernous bunker lit by harsh white lights and blinking consoles, Commander Ana Reyes sat alone. Her face was hard, etched with lines of battle and resolve. Memories flickered unbidden. 25 years ago, Earth was a planet forgotten by the galaxy. Human colonies on the fringes sent sparse transmissions, ignored or dismissed as insignificant. The Galactic Council's emissaries came, their words laced with condescension. "You are too primitive," they said. "Your planet is a death world, hostile, unstable, unfit for galactic society." Reyes had been a young soldier then, witnessing the betrayal firsthand. "They sealed us out," she whispered, voice brittle. "No treaties, no protection. We were left to fend for ourselves. A forgotten species." The war that followed was not the grand galactic war of myths. It was brutal, silent, fought in shadows. Humanity's homeworld was bombarded, colonies obliterated, all in the name of control and fear. But the humans survived. They adapted. They grew stronger in the ashes of betrayal. Returning to the present, Reyes's hand rested on a cold console, etched with the marks of battle. Our silence was their mistake, their arrogance our opportunity. Dr. Malik approached, carrying a datapad. "Our scientists have detected Council fleet movements. They are rallying a coalition fleet near the Orion sector." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Then we strike first, before they can form a united front." Lieutenant Sarin cleared his throat. "Commander, our new stealth technology can mask fleet signatures completely. But it's untested on this scale." Reyes smiled grimly. "Then it's time to test." Thousands of light-years away, the Council's factions debated bitterly. Cathas paced before a group of high-ranking delegates. We must form alliances, even with species we once deemed inferior. Earth has shattered our illusion of supremacy. A grizzled alien elder, the Zevrix commander, growled, "Our fleets are powerful, but Earth's technology bends the very fabric of physics. Gravity wave cannons capable of planetary fracture, nanotech cloaking fields. These are not merely weapons, but existential threats." Vokrel growled, "Our arrogance blinded us to their potential. Now we must atone with blood." The debate spiraled into discord, alliances forged in desperation rather than trust. The galaxy braced for a war unlike any before. Back on Earth, the flagship's command deck pulsed with activity. Reyes addressed her crew. "We are not the galaxy's forgotten children anymore. We are the storm they refused to hear." The ship's sensors flared, detecting faint emissions, Council fleet signatures emerging from hyperlane jumps. "Prepare for battle," Reyes ordered. In the dark expanse of space, the first human strike fleet cloaked itself, moving like predators through the void. Nanite swarms deployed, silently disabling enemy sensors and communication arrays. Aboard the Council's flagship, panic rippled. "Sensors are failing," shouted a Council officer. "Nanite clouds in our approach vectors. Our fleet is blind." Vokrel's eyes widened. "This is not conventional warfare. They use their Deathworld tech as a weapon of terror." Council President Zalthar's form flickered with rage. "We underestimated the forgotten." Suddenly, the void erupted. Gravity wave pulse cannons unleashed torrents of energy, ripping through the Council fleet's defensive shields. Entire ships cracked and fractured under the strain, torn apart by unseen forces. The battle was silent, merciless. On Earth's command deck, Reyes watched the carnage through her viewport. "They wanted to ignore our signal. Now they witness the cost." "Lieutenant." Zarin stood by her side, voice grim. "This is only the beginning," Reyes nodded. "The galaxy will learn that a death world breeds not just survival, but vengeance." Far from the chaos, an ancient voice whispered through the void. "The forgotten will not fade. Their silence was a storm waiting to break." The shattered remnants of the Galactic Council grapple with fear and denial, while humanity's war machine grows stronger and more ruthless. On board Earth's warships, tactical genius and cold determination forge a deadly force, driven by painful memories and a thirst for justice. Meanwhile, the Council's political fractures deepen, revealing internal betrayal and escalating the stakes. The galaxy's fate teeters on a knife's edge. The once mighty Galactic Council now stood fractured, its shimmering halls stained with the weight of fear and disbelief. Council President Zalthar's projection flickered in the dim chamber, the cold light casting sharp shadows across his face. His eyes, usually so calm and imperious, now betrayed a flicker of doubt. "How did we miss this?" he demanded, voice strained yet controlled. Earth's silence was not weakness, it was a warning. A chorus of voices answered from the assembled delegates. Some whispered fearfully of the Deathworld's secrets, others accused each other of complacency and betrayal. Cathas, the seasoned military strategist, slammed his gauntleted fist on the polished table. "We were blinded by arrogance. Earth's environment forged weapons that break our physics. Gravity wave cannons capable of tearing moons apart. Nanite swarms that dissolve entire fleets silently. We face a force beyond comprehension." "But our fleets remain superior in numbers," interjected Ambassador Vokrel. "If only we unify, we can crush this rebellion swiftly." Zalthar shook his head. "Unity is a fragile illusion. Our alliances fracture beneath the weight of fear. The Council's indecision endangers us all." Far from the political turmoil, in the cold void near Earth's orbit, the war was escalating. Commander Ana Reyes stood resolute on the command deck of the flagship Aegis. Behind her, a holographic display projected swirling battle maps, marked with enemy fleet positions and human strike teams. Lieutenant Sarin approached, voice low and urgent. "Our intel reports a council fleet amassing near the Caldera Belt. Estimates suggest upwards of 20 Dreadnought-class vessels." Reyes's jaw tightened. "They underestimate us still, but we won't let them prepare." She gestured sharply. "Deploy stealth squadrons Alpha and Beta. Target their communications and sensor arrays. We blind their eyes before the first volley." The command deck hummed with energy as operators sprang to action. Ships slipped from hidden cloaks, silent and deadly. In the cramped pilot cabin of Shadow Fang, a sleek stealth fighter, Captain Mirikato adjusted her helmet comms, her hands steady despite the tension. "We fly for Earth," she whispered to herself. Her fighter slipped into the darkness of the Caldera Belt, a region of volatile asteroid fields and radiation storms, a Deathworld's graveyard repurposed as a battleground. Her sensors flickered, picking up faint emissions from Council. Dreadnoughts. The enemy fleet, massive and heavily armored, moved with a mechanical certainty that spoke of centuries of military tradition. But Miri's mind was steel. "Let them come," she muttered. "We've trained for this." Back aboard the Aegis, Commander Reyes watched the battle unfold through tactical feeds. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Enemy retaliating," Sarin warned. "They've launched a counterstrike using electromagnetic pulse weapons, targeting our stealth tech." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Activate adaptive shielding protocols. Shield emitters must shift frequencies in real time. We can't afford blind spots." The room lit with dynamic holograms as human engineers and scientists scrambled to adjust. Meanwhile, the Council's political elite convened in secret chambers far from the chaos. A shadowy figure, cloaked in whispers and secrecy, addressed a group of conspirators. "We cannot survive as we are," he hissed. "The Council's weakness invites destruction." One of his lieutenants stepped forward, eyes gleaming with ambition. "Then we must strike at the heart of this rebellion. If Earth's war machine is to be broken, it will be by internal betrayal." The conspirators nodded in grim agreement. Nun, Earth Dr. Malik paced in the science bay, running simulations on the latest nanotech weaponry. The gravitational weapon imploded prematurely, unleashing a shockwave that tore through both fleets, crippling vessels on both sides. The void was filled with fire and silence. On the Aegis, the crew worked feverishly to repair damage. Reyes stood, silent, her eyes reflecting the wreckage. "We have won a battle, but the war is far from over." Back in the council chamber, Zalthar looked out at the shattered stars. "The death world has awakened, and the fires of rebellion will consume us all." The aftermath of the gravitational shockwave leaves both sides reeling and vulnerable. On Earth's flagship, cracks begin to show, not just in the ship's armor, but among the crew themselves. Political tensions within the Council explode into open sabotage, revealing a deep-rooted conspiracy. As humanity prepares for a decisive counterstrike, old wounds and new betrayals threaten to tear their unity apart. The veil of galactic diplomacy is shattered, and raw war takes its true form. The void after the explosion was a shattered silence, like the galaxy itself held its breath. Aboard the Aegis, the flagship trembled under the strain of systems critically damaged by the gravitational implosion. Emergency lights flickered, casting erratic shadows on faces drawn tight with exhaustion and dread. Commander Ana Reyes gripped the command console, her knuckles white beneath the strain. "Status report," she demanded, voice a low growl. "Lieutenant." Sarin's hands danced over the controls, eyes flicking between flashing warnings. "Hull breaches in sections 5 and 7, localized power failures in the aft engines, and sensor arrays are intermittent. We lost 2 stealth fighters in the swarm counterattack. Reyes's mind raced. The cost was severe, but the Council fleet had suffered far worse. Yet this was no time to celebrate. The damage exposed vulnerabilities. We must hold formation and move to the rendezvous point for repairs. Behind her, the crew moved like a well-oiled machine, repairing damage, rerouting power and sealing breaches with practiced precision. Yet beneath their calm professionalism, unease simmered. In the dimmed corridors of the Aegis, whispers spread. Captain Cato's squadron, once heralded for their fearless stealth strikes, now questioned their fate. "We took losses we can't explain," muttered Pilot Darrow, his voice low. "The Council's weapon wasn't just powerful, it was deliberate sabotage. Someone knew the risks and let it happen." Miri Cato's eyes hardened. "Trust is fragile in war. But we can't fracture now." Across the ship, Dr. Malik's laboratory hummed with controlled chaos. His latest experiment, a nanite countermeasure designed to neutralize the Council's singularity tech, had failed spectacularly during the battle. "We were premature," Malik confessed to Reyes during a rare moment of privacy. "Our understanding of their tech is still rudimentary. We've been chasing shadows." Reyes stared out the viewport at the shattered stars beyond. "Then we learn faster. We adapt, because they believe we are primitive, and that's their greatest mistake." Far from the battered Aegis, the Council's political halls boiled with turmoil. Zalthar paced before a chamber bathed in cold, artificial light. His fingers trembled as he clasped a hollow slate displaying intercepted Council communications, secret messages revealing treachery from within. "Vokrel," he hissed, "you betrayed the Council." The ambassador's visage appeared, composed but cold. "I did what was necessary to protect our order. Earth's rise threatens everything we have built. Sacrifices must be made." Zalthar's voice dropped to a whisper of fury. "You condemned millions for your ambition." Behind them, the chamber doors hissed open. Figures cloaked in shadow entered. The conspirators revealed. "We control the true levers of power," one declared. "The Council is a relic. Earth will fall, one way or another." Back on Earth's flagship, Reyes convened a council of her own. The bridge hummed with tension as officers gathered. Among them were veterans scarred by loss and new recruits burning with resolve. "We face enemies from without. And within," Reyes began. "The Council fractures, and so must we strengthen. We cannot afford suspicion. Our strength lies in unity." Her eyes met those of Lieutenant Sarin. "Deploy reconnaissance teams to expose any traitors among us. We root out dissent before it becomes disease." The crew nodded, knowing the cost but understanding the stakes. In a dim corner of the Aegis, communications officer Lena Santiago sat alone, sifting through intercepted messages. Her fingers paused on a fragmented transmission, coded but chillingly clear: "Sabotage from within. Target, the Aegis's propulsion core. Timing, next battle." Her breath caught. The war was no longer just external. Night fell on Earth, a fragile blue orb, turning beneath a sea of stars. On the ground, families gathered around data streams, watching broadcasts of the unfolding war. For many, the Council was an abstract menace, until the bombings started. Cities shattered, skies burned with firestorms born of alien retaliation. Yet in the darkness, hope flickered. Children born into this war grew with tales of Earth's indomitable spirit, of battles fought in orbit and shadows, of heroes who defied the impossible. In a makeshift command post beneath the ruins of New Cairo, General Hassan al-Farouk studied the tactical maps projected before him. His voice was gravelly with exhaustion. The Council's strike was meant to break us, but it revealed their fear. Beside him, a young strategist, Talia Wren, pointed to an anomaly on the map. These fleet movements, disorganized, Desperate. They're fracturing too. Al-Farouk nodded slowly. Then we strike while they bleed. Back on the Aegis, a sudden alarm shattered the uneasy calm. Propulsion core compromised. Santiago's voice cracked over the comm. Reyes spun, eyes blazing. Emergency protocols. Seal the core. Isolate systems. Outside, the hum of battle drones filled the corridors. Saboteurs had infiltrated. No one was safe. The battle for survival was no longer fought only in space. It was within every ship, every mind, every heartbeat. Reyes moved through the corridors, rallying her crew. We are humanity's shield and sword. We fight not just for survival, but for the right to exist. Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of those around her. Meanwhile, the Council's fractured factions fought their own civil war, splintering into rogue warbands, fueled by desperation and betrayal. Zalthar, stripped of power, fled with a small loyalist cadre, vowing to redeem the Council's honor or die trying. His voice was a broken whisper. The galaxy's peace died when we ignored Earth's signal. Now only ashes remain. As the Aegis limped toward the rendezvous point, Earth's warships converged. They were battered but unbroken, a fleet forged in pain and resilience, ready to face the coming storm. Reyes stood at the helm, eyes fixed on the horizon. The veil of galactic civility was shattered. The raw truth of war had arrived, and humanity would not yield. As the fractured fleets converge, battle lines are drawn, and the true scope of the war emerges. Human ingenuity and grit clash against alien technology and treachery. Meanwhile, internal fractures threaten to undo Earth's fragile alliance. Commander Reyes faces impossible choices between vengeance and survival, trust and betrayal. The fires of reckoning blaze across star systems, revealing hidden powers and unyielding will. The void screamed with the roar of distant warships as the battered Aegis limped closer to the rendezvous point. Beyond the fractured hull and flickering lights, Commander Ana Reyes felt the weight of every soul aboard pressing on her shoulders. Their survival depended not only on their skill, but on unity, something growing dangerously fragile. "Captain, incoming transmission," Lieutenant Sarin announced, fingers poised over the console. "Unencrypted. Looks like General Al-Farouk." Reyes nodded sharply. "Patch it through." The holographic image flickered into life. General Hassan Al-Farouk's steely gaze met hers, lines of exhaustion etched deep in his face. "Commander Reyes, the Council's internal collapse has accelerated faster than we anticipated. Rogue factions splintering off, civilian fleets mobilizing. It's chaos on their side and an opportunity for us." Reyes leaned forward, intensity burning in her eyes. "We can't let that chaos cost us more lives. Our fleet's still fragile. We need a strategy that combines offense with protection." Al-Farouk's voice was grim. "I agree. I'm assembling a strike force at the nearby gravity well near Proxima Centauri. If we can trap the largest Council warband there, we might cripple their command." "Proxima Centauri?" Sarin interjected, tension tightening her throat. "That's a death trap. The gravity well fluctuations could fry our systems." Al-Farouk nodded. "It's riskier than anything we've done, but fortune favors the bold." Reyes exchanged a glance with her tactical officers. The gamble was clear. "Attack now or cede momentum. Prepare the fleet for jump," Reyes ordered. "All units ready for sustained engagement. We strike at Proxima Centauri's gravity well within the hour." The jump through hyperspace was a blur of colors, and stars stretching into streaks of light. Inside the bridge, tension simmered beneath a thin veneer of calm. The crew worked feverishly, repairing damage, monitoring power, and readying weapon systems. Sarin approached Reyes quietly, voice low. "Commander, I'm picking up unusual energy signatures on the sensors, not from the Council." Reyes frowned. "Explain." "It's hard to classify. High-frequency pulses, almost like a beacon or a trap. Could be new tech, something we haven't seen," Reyes's eyes narrowed. Alert all reconnaissance units. No one moves without full scanning. Meanwhile, aboard the Echelon, a rogue council warship, Zalthar paced in his private quarters. His loyalists worked furiously, repairing battle damage and preparing for what he called the final reckoning. The humans grow bolder, Zalthar muttered, eyes dark with fury. They exploit our fractures while we bleed from within. His second-in-command, Jaran, approached cautiously. We must act before their strike force reaches Proxima. If we lose the gravity well, we lose control of the sector. Zalthar's voice dropped to a whisper of menace. Then we'll shatter the well ourselves. Let the stars burn for their arrogance. The human fleet arrived at Proxima Centauris. Orbit, a swirling chaos of ships preparing for war. The gravity well tugged at their engines, systems humming with strain. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. Formation Delta. Engage shields at maximum, Reyes commanded. Deploy gravity dampeners and prepare countermeasures for singularity weapons. Sarin's voice crackled over the comm. Stealth fighters deployed, approaching Council warband. The first exchange was brutal. Energy blasts lit the void, ships weaving and diving amid bursts of ion fire. Human tactics relied on precision strikes and adaptive formations, countering the Council's superior raw power, but the Council's warband had a secret. Suddenly, the gravity well surged violently. Space rippled like water, tearing at hulls and systems alike. Ships lost control, tumbling helplessly. Gravity well destabilizing, Sarin yelled. It's a trap, Reyes's heart pounded. Hold position. Deploy nanite repair swarms. Focus on stabilizing core engines. In the chaos, a small squadron of stealth fighters detected a blip on the edge of the battlefield. A massive warship cloaked in advanced technology, unseen until now. Pilot Darrow radioed in awe. Commander! Unidentified ship just decloaked. It's unlike anything we've encountered. Shields glowing with dark matter energy. Reyes's mind raced. Target it! Priority 1! The new threat unleashed a torrent of plasma bursts, tearing through human shields and sending ships into disarray. The battle's tide shifted dangerously. Sarin's voice was sharp. This tech isn't from the Council's known arsenal. Could it be the Deathworld-Class battleships the legends spoke of? Reyes swallowed hard. If so, this war just became a nightmare. Back on the Echelon, Zalthar watched the destruction unfold on tactical displays. His eyes gleamed with bitter satisfaction. They think they can survive by striking at the gravity well, he whispered, but the galaxy's deeper shadows have other plans. He tapped a panel, initiating a hidden protocol, a catastrophic sequence that would unleash a controlled singularity collapse within the gravity well. Let the fires of reckoning consume them all, he said. On the Aegis, chaos surged as the gravity well began to collapse inward. Emergency sirens blared. Crew scrambled to stabilize the ship and protect the fleet. Commander, the singularity radius is expanding, Sarin yelled. We have minutes before it tears everything apart. Reyes clenched her jaw. Evacuation protocols ready. Priority is saving the fleet, then counterattack. As the collapse deepened, ships broke formation, desperate to escape the maw of destruction. Amid the turmoil, Lena Santiago uncovered a hidden transmission, fragments of a message from deep within the Council's conspiracy. They're planning to trigger a chain reaction, Lena whispered to Reyes, a gambit to obliterate not just our fleet but Earth itself. Reyes's eyes blazed. Then we stop them, whatever it takes. The Aegis and remaining human ships pushed through the collapsing gravity well, engines screaming under pressure. The stealth fighters launched a desperate strike against Zalthar's flagship. Pilot Darrow's voice cracked with determination. For Earth! For survival! Explosions rocked the Echelon as the fighters breached its defenses. Inside Zalthar's quarters, alarms blared. The flagship shook violently as fighters tore through its hull. Zalthar raised his voice, fury burning. "Hold the line! Do not let them breach the command core!" But it was too late. A blinding flash filled the void. When light faded, the echelon was shattered, broken like glass against the darkness. The gravity well began to stabilize. It's catastrophic. Collapse halted. The surviving fleet drifted in the aftermath, battered but alive. Reyes stared into the void, voice hoarse. "This war will not be won by fire alone. It will be won by those who understand the cost of every life." Sarin nodded. "And the price we're willing to pay." Elsewhere, Zalthar's surviving loyalists retreated into the shadows. His parting words echoed across the stars. "The galaxy has not heard the last of us. This is only the beginning." The fires of reckoning had burned fiercely and left scars that would never heal. But humanity's resolve was a flame no darkness could extinguish. The shattered battlefield leaves the human fleet scarred but defiant. As survivors regroup and recover, new threats emerge from unexpected quarters. Commander Reyes faces growing dissent within the Alliance and must navigate fragile political currents. Meanwhile, in the darkest corners of the galaxy, ancient enemies watch and prepare their own moves. The war's quiet aftershocks pulse with danger, and humanity's fight is far from over. The stillness that followed the collapse of the gravity well was eerie, a breath held in the infinite void. On board the Aegis, every crew member felt the weight of survival like a cold, heavy shroud. Though the Council's strike had been repelled, the victory tasted bitter. Ana Reyes stood alone on the observation deck, eyes scanning the shattered remnants of the battlefield. Like broken stars, disabled warships floated in the void, silent testimonies to the cost of war. Below her, the fleet's scattered ships patched their wounds and prepared for the inevitable next wave. "Commander," Sarin's voice came softly through the comm. "We've secured the perimeter. No immediate threats detected, but sensors are picking up anomalous energy signatures beyond the edge of the system." Reyes folded her arms, her jaw clenched. "Anomalous. Define. Unclassified tech. Pulses. Matching no known faction, alien or human. It's faint but consistent, possibly a cloaked vessel or automated probes." Reyes sighed, the shadows of dread creeping back. "Keep an eye on it. Alert me immediately if it moves closer." Back in the fleet's command room, tension was palpable. The Alliance, fragile as it was, had taken heavy losses, and cracks were beginning to show. Representatives from Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, and former Council defectors argued bitterly over priorities and resources. General Al-Farouk slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot afford to waste time bickering. The Council will regroup and strike again. Our only hope is decisive action." "No," interrupted Ambassador Kai, his voice calm but icy. "We must consolidate and protect what remains. Reckless attacks will only hasten our destruction." Reyes watched the exchange quietly from the sidelines, sensing the growing divide could unravel everything. The cost of survival wasn't just the battle with the Council. It was the fragile trust that kept humanity united. In a dim corner, Lieutenant Mira Das exchanged hushed words with a group of soldiers. "Morale is plummeting. People are scared, angry. Some talk of abandoning the Alliance and returning to their homeworlds." One soldier spat. "Let them go. If they can't handle the war, they're dead weight." Mira's eyes flickered with pain. "That's exactly the kind of division the enemy wants." She made her way to Reyes afterward, voice low. "Commander, we're losing cohesion. If we don't address this soon, the fleet may fracture completely." Reyes nodded slowly. "I'll call a meeting. We need to remind everyone why we fight. Or we lose more than ships." Far from the human fleet, in the shadowed depths of the nebula Hexus, a secret meeting unfolded. Ancient beings long thought extinct stirred in their cryptic sanctuaries. They watched the war unfold with detached curiosity, their eyes glimmering with unfathomable intelligence. Humanity's recklessness disrupts the balance, whispered one, a creature of shifting shadows and cold light. Yet their survival instinct is admirable, another responded. They are more than primitives, perhaps a threat, or a key. The oldest among them, voice echoing like a distant thunder, intoned, "Prepare the shadows. Let the galaxy learn caution. The reckoning is not over. It has only begun." Back. Aboard the Aegis, Reyes convened a fleet-wide broadcast, her voice steady despite the tension that gripped her. "Everyone, this is Commander Reyes," she began. "We have survived a trial by fire. The cost was high, but we remain united. This war is not simply about survival. It is about who we are, what humanity stands for." She paused, eyes locking on the cameras. "Our strength is not in numbers or technology alone. It is in our will, our refusal to submit. We fight for our future, for every planet and every soul counting on us." Her words ignited a spark. Across the fleet, faces hardened with renewed resolve. However, no amount of speeches could mask the undercurrents of dissent. Later, in the corridors of the Aegis, Reyes confronted one of her own, Captain Raina Markov, a decorated pilot and known skeptic of the Alliance. "We're wasting time on speeches," Markov said bluntly. "The fleet's morale is fractured. People want action. Decisive strikes, not words." Reyes met her gaze steadily. "Action without unity is suicide. We need both." Markov's lips twitched into a bitter smile. "Unity is fragile. Sometimes it's easier to fight alone than to trust a broken alliance." The confrontation left an uneasy silence, the fragile threads of trust fraying further. Meanwhile, Lena Santiago in the science lab reviewed the latest data from the battle. The mysterious energy signatures Sarin had detected were becoming more pronounced. They appeared to be scanning the fleet, probing for weaknesses. "Commander, these readings, they're almost like a neural network," Lena explained, "a form of adaptive AI, constantly learning, evolving." Reyes's brow furrowed. "Could it be some kind of biological weapon?" "Possibly," Lena replied, "or a precursor to something far worse. If these probes adapt quickly, they could neutralize our defenses." Reyes called in Sarin and Lena for a strategy briefing. "We have to develop countermeasures," Reyes said firmly. "If the enemy can adapt faster than we can react, this war is lost." Sarin nodded. "We can try deploying electromagnetic pulses tuned to disrupt the probe's sensors without harming our own systems," Lena added, "and we're working on a cloaking field that can mask ship signatures from this AI's scans." Reyes's eyes gleamed with grim determination. "Then, get to work. We don't have time to lose." Days passed and the fleet continued its slow crawl through the fractured space, patched but vigilant. Each moment of calm was a fragile bubble ready to burst. Then, without warning, alarms blared. Multiple contacts detected, approaching at high velocity. Reyes's heart hammered as the fleet scrambled to battle stations, emerging from a swirling nebula, a fleet unlike any before materialized. Ships sleek and angular, cloaked in shadows that absorbed light. "They're here," Sarin whispered. The Deathworld-Class battleships. The new enemy did not hesitate. The battle erupted with devastating fury. Plasma storms and energy pulses illuminated the void. The human fleet fought with desperation and skill, every ship a beacon of defiance. Amid the chaos, Reyes ordered a risky maneuver: deploy all nanite swarms. Target enemy engines and shield generators. We hit them where it hurts. The tiny machines swarmed enemy hulls, disrupting systems and creating openings, but the enemy's technology was relentless. They unleashed a new weapon: gravity disruptors that tore ships apart from within, bending space-time in horrifying ways. Sarin yelled, "Commander, shields failing!" "We can't hold," Reyes's mind raced. "Focus on evacuation and regroup. We fight smart or we die scattered." In the midst of the battle, a transmission cut through the noise. It was Zalthar's voice, defiant and mocking. "You think You've won. You've only postponed the inevitable. The galaxy is far older and darker than your hopes. Reyes's grip tightened on the comm panel. We'll see who survives. As the battle raged, Reyes glimpsed the toll on her crew. The weariness, the fear, the burning hope. This war was no longer just survival. It was the defining moment of humanity's place in the cosmos, and she vowed they would not go quietly into the dark. As the ultimate confrontation unfolds, humanity's ingenuity and unbreakable spirit turn the tide against overwhelming foes. Ancient threats collide, sacrifices are made, and unexpected alliances emerge. The final battle reshapes the galaxy's power balance, proving that even against insurmountable odds, humanity's F-year spirit shines brightest in the darkest hour. The void around Earth's shattered orbit was thick with the ghosts of war. Wrecked ships, flickering debris fields, and the silent cries of lost souls. But even amid that desolation, the Aegis burned bright like a beacon of defiance, its hull scarred but resolute. Commander Ana Reyes stood on the bridge, her gaze piercing the swirling chaos of stars and enemy vessels, converging for the final assault. Behind her, the fleet held steady, battered but unyielding. "Status report," she demanded. "Shields holding at 47%, weapon systems at 83% efficiency," Sarin reported, voice steady but tense. "Enemy forces are consolidating near the dead planet below. Sensors detect energy fluctuations consistent with those ancient beings we feared." Lena Santiago's eyes never left the tactical display. "It's them. The shadows from Nebula Hexus. They've arrived, and they're not here for negotiation." Reyes's jaw tightened. "So, this is the reckoning. The Council's earlier dismissal of Earth's signal, the warning humanity sent out before. The war had been their fatal mistake. Now every faction had been drawn into the crucible of survival, but none had the fierce will of humanity." A sudden jolt rocked the bridge as the first wave of the ancient fleet slammed into human lines. Energy crackled, ships exploded in radiant bursts, but the humans fought back with relentless ferocity. "Deploy nanite swarms," Reyes ordered. "Target their control nodes and disrupt formation." The microscopic machines swarmed over enemy. Hulls like a living storm, fracturing armor and corrupting systems. The ancient ships shuddered under the assault, momentarily breaking their deadly advance. From her command chair, Reyes felt the weight of every life aboard the Aegis and every allied vessel. This was not just a battle for survival, it was for legacy, for the right to exist. Her thoughts flickered briefly to the scientist Dr. Kai's final message before the battle. Humanity's greatest weapon is not tech, but its unpredictability. Reyes smiled grimly. Suddenly, a brilliant flare lit the void, an EMP blast designed by Lena's team to disable the enemy's adaptive AI probes. The ancient fleet faltered, their advanced cloaking and scanning tech faltering under the electromagnetic. "Storm! Now!" Reyes commanded. Human fighters surged forward, exploiting the momentary blindness. Dogfights erupted, plasma trails carving streaks of light across the black canvas. Amid the chaos, the Aegis intercepted a transmission, a message from the Shadow's leader, the ancient entity who had once ruled countless systems with cold. "Calculation, you are fleeting sparks against the endless night. Surrender, and we may spare what remains of your kind." Reyes's fingers hovered over the comm. Then she spoke with the calm fury of a cornered lion. "Humanity will never surrender. We are the reckoning you never saw coming." The battle raged. And for hours, each second stretching into eternity. Sacrifices were made, ships giving their last breath to shield comrades, pilots falling into the void with defiant final words. On the ground below, planetary defenses activated, unleashing orbital bombardments that shattered enemy reinforcements. In the war room, Lena unveiled the final gambit, a quantum destabilizer capable of collapsing the ancient fleet's core energy matrix, but it required a direct hit and would render the firing ship irreparably damaged. "Who volunteers?" Reyes asked, voice low but unwavering. Captain Rena Markov stepped forward without hesitation. "I'll take it. For Earth." As the Aegis launched into the heart of the enemy formation, Reyes and her crew prepared for what might be their last moments. The quantum destabilizer charged, a pulsating orb of pure energy, humming with destructive potential. With a burst of speed, the Aegis pierced the enemy lines. Explosions rocked the ship, but it held steady on course. "Now, Captain," Reyes whispered into her comm. Markov fired. The destabilizer detonated in a blinding cascade of light and power, ripping through the ancient fleet's core. Ships disintegrated. The shadows that once seemed eternal were consumed in the blast. As the light faded, silence enveloped the battlefield. The surviving ships regrouped. The Council's forces were broken, the ancient threat quelled. Reyes exhaled, eyes shining with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. In the aftermath, across the battered galaxy, transmissions flickered to life. Former enemies reached out, tentative hands toward new alliances forged in fire. Humanity had not just survived, it had changed everything. On the bridge, Reyes looked toward Earth, a fragile blue gem shining amidst the stars. "We were the Shadow's last mistake," she said quietly. Her crew smiled, hope rekindled, because when the galaxy had ignored Earth's signal, humanity's final message was clear: they were not to be underestimated.